Rio Hondo Prep football is one of the best kept secrets in all of Southern California. As one of the smallest enrollments year in and year out, the Cares have won 15 CIF championships and have been one of the most successful programs throughout their history. Welcome to A Charge to Keep, the official podcast of Rio Hondo Prep football. And now, bringing you the latest news and content from his alma mater, a CIF champion in 2001 from the class of 2003. Here's your host, Matt Hersema.
What is up, Rio Hondo Prep football fans? I hope the summer continues to treat you well as we are counting down to the 2024 kickoff. It has been so much fun behind the scenes, piecing these episodes together. I love the fact that in the summertime, I'm able to put these together pretty early, record them pretty early, get them out there, get them lined up and ready to go, so that when June is here and these are starting to be released, that man, I don't have too much work to do. Just kind of record early, set them up, line them up, and then let them release in a timely manner. So kind of like game planning, right? The coaches are out there game planning, and sometimes you make a game plan and you just want things to fall into place. Doesn't always work that way. I've learned here on the podcast over the years, but all in all, a fun time of year for me because I get to do this and set this up and just let the audiences like it, leave it, whatever that floats their boat. So hopefully you guys are enjoying my theme this summer. Last summer was kind of learning a little bit about the current coaches on the coaching staff for the Rio Hondo Prep Cares, and this year kind of honoring some of my former coaches from Care Youth League and getting to understand that generation, that feeling really of just loving Rio Hondo Prep football, falling in love with it, right? The origin story, I guess, is the best way to say it. So have had a great time talking with some of my former coaches on the Gators specifically. I know a lot of you guys are probably getting tired of hearing about the Gators and everything, but that's all right. It's all tied into Rio Hondo Prep football. And we just have, we have a sense of pride from the cities we're from the teams we played for. And I think that shines most really in today's world with the Rio Hondo Prep Cares. The Rio Hondo Prep faithful are now wearing that crest proudly. We always have, but now it's a little more pride, I think, with the podcast and with the championship last year. It's just kind of, again, like I've said before, it's not, wait, what school did you go to? It's now Rio Hondo Prep in Arcadia, and you say it proudly and proud of where you're from, and that's a big part of what we're doing here on the podcast, honoring the past, of course, honoring the prior teams and the history of the program, but also paying tribute to the current team, and we'll do a lot more of that in July as we kind of get a little bit closer, right? As we inch closer to practices and the schedule, the season starting and all that. So, but for now, just to kind of get you guys in the mood this summer as you're taking trips or on vacation, you want to throw an earbud in or to pull up YouTube and watch, the Charge to Keep podcast. That's what we're here for, weekly episodes. Plus, it's a way to extend the football season a little bit, right? You never know what the back end of it will look like. Hopefully it's 4 playoff wins, and then hopefully, a little beyond that, but we're only guaranteed the games on our schedule. And this is a way to kind of start the season a little early, hype it up, if you will, with weekly episodes Friday nights, so that you guys are all programmed and dialed in. Friday night episodes, Friday night games. Here we go from June until, well, we'll say hopefully December. Rio Hondo Prep football. What is that? 6 months? That's that sounds good to me. So going down memory lane with some of my former coaches here. We're going to do that again today, as we're going to have on the program. I would say I've asked a lot of people about this. This is probably one of the scariest football players in Rio Hondo's history. He played in the mid to late 80s, played in a championship game in 87 that they fell short in. I think he was maybe injured for a lot of that, but anyway, my former coach in 4th grade, an assistant coach, and someone that I looked up to and still do, and also taught me a lot about officiating when I was just kind of getting started and kind of thrown out there into the fire. But anyway, our special guest today is Rod Heaton, who I believe is from the class of 1988. I could be wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure that's right. Maybe it was 89. Rod Heaton coached me in 4th grade, Glendora Gators, of course, alongside Mr. Gary Shintaku. You want to talk about two guys as far as knowledge goes, coaching your team, I mean, hey, I don't know how we lost any games, with those two guys working with us. But Mr. Heaton was a fun coach back in the day. A rather big, intimidating kind of presence to him, but really a big heart, fun kind of guy behind the scenes. Some of the best outings and stuff I can remember. He was actually the first guy that picked me up for church. Me and a few of my teammates, he'd take us to church, take us to lunch after, and then bring us home. So those were fond memories. Taught me a lot. And he moved on to other teams, and then eventually became a teacher at Rio Hondo Prep. I think he still works through the 6th grade. Maybe not. I could be wrong. It's been a while, right? Piecing all of this together, but just a true man of God, someone that's incredibly passionate about preaching the word of God and spreading the gospel. And that is a very big passion of his. And it started, not started, but my experience with him was back in 4th grade when he was coaching the Gators, and he coached the team above us. We were 4th graders. He was the head coach of like the 5th graders, and he challenged us 4th grader. Hey, come out and practice with the 5th graders sometimes. And we did. And, we learned to get a little tougher. And I think that was probably a big tribute to a lot of the success we had, not just then, but in later years in life too. So always being willing to accept challenges. So Mr. Heaton, so many fun memories, like I said, fun outings, rather unique. He loved Halloween. He loved, just Disney soundtracks. We'd be rocking in his truck and everything. I still remember that black pickup truck. I think he had like pool supplies in it or something, because he was a pool cleaner, I think, at the time. I don't know. Some of the stuff I remember clearly, and other times I'm like, wait, why was that? Or was that? Anyway, I do all this from memory for the most part. So, Mr. Rod Heaton, one of the scariest football players of all time. If you've seen him in a uniform, some of these photos of him wearing that double fives, 55, I think he's got a towel and the socks and the helmet and the face mask. Oh my goodness, he looks terrifying. And you know what? He probably has a little terrifying presence to him sometimes, but we start talking to him, he's just this fun-filled, fun-loving guy that I think wants the best for young men, and definitely, challenges people, and it's just, I don't know. He's a fun dude. And that's what I remember. And it was fun competing against him as like in junior high when I was on some other team and things like that. But he will always be Mr. Heaton to me. The guy that in 4th grade not only coached us, but encouraged us to go to church and to, accept God's love and God's word, and just so many fun memories. So we're going to talk to him about his coaching days in Care Youth League, his Rio Hondo Prep experience, why real football is special to him. I think you guys will really enjoy this episode, getting to know a little bit more about Mr. Rod Heaton. And I may have asked a former teammate of his about him that I will bring up here in the interview as well. So let's get right to it. Let's get to Mr. Rod Heaton, our featured guest here in our June summer episodes, counting down to kickoff. Again, as I honor some of my former coaches from my Care Youth League days, that I wish I could say thank you in a lot of different ways, but this is the best way I can think of. Bring them on the podcast and talk some Rio Hondo Prep football. Let's get to it. Our featured guest today, Mr. Rod Heaton. All right. I am now joined by Rod Heaton from the class of 1988. At one time, my Gator coach back in 4th grade. And if you're not watching on YouTube, he's got his headset on. He's ready to either call plays or captain the Enterprise or some Star Wars ship or something out there. What's going on, Mr. Heaton?
Oh, wow. Just a nice, relaxing holiday weekend. Talking to you at your podcast, Charge to Keep, and happy to be here talking to you. And if there's anybody else listening, happy to talk to them too.
Yeah, for sure. I got good sound coming in. I always appreciate that with the whole technology thing. So it makes things a lot easier. And yeah, you know what? For those listening, it'll be in June. But yeah, we're recording here in May and Memorial Day weekend. And you know what? I know the football season is a long way away, 4 months, 3 months, whatever it is. But I know we're less than 100 days. It's never too early to talk Rio football, right?
It's not a matter of talking early. It's a matter of like it's an ongoing conversation.
Yes.
Year round.
Year round. The circle behind me. It's a circle. It never ends.
There's no such thing as early or late. I mean, it's just an ongoing conversation.
I love it, Mr. Heaton. We're going to talk about your playing days and how, you, like me now, we're, older guys that kind of, it's so funny. It's like the small town feel, right? Where back in our day, back when we played, and we're kind of critical of the young men, like, and all that, but that's again, part of the circle. So we'll get into real football, your experiences in a minute. But first off, as I've been asking my coaches here throughout the summer, just recapping and your reaction to last year's championship. What a phenomenal 2023 season. I mean, what were some of the highlights and just the memories you have from watching those guys last year raise a 15th banner?
Wow. For me, I have usually kind of a unique perspective while I'm watching the games because I'm taking pictures most of the time. And so I get to be down, like on the sidelines and photographing plays and stuff like that. And so my um, focus on the game is very narrow. I'll sometimes have to ask, like, what happened on that play? I'm like on the sidelines and I don't even know what happened, because I'm so zeroed in on one particular thing, and I might, zero in on linemen to take pictures of them and things like that. Um, it, I don't know if it was like halfway through the season. It was during a home game, and at Care Park where we're playing, and I'm taking pictures, and one of the Rio Hondo Prep players, Caden, he's big guy. I mean, he's just, I'm like, dude, that's like me when I play. It's
Yeah.
like exactly the same kind of, person out there. And he's on defense, and I'm trying to remember, kind of how it went. But what happened, the other team ran a play, and balls on the ground. So Caden, he doesn't have to, and the Rio Hondo Prep player doesn't have to pick up the ball. It's not their job. It's the referee's job to pick up the ball and to put it, to mark the spot, etc. But sometimes sometimes being, a smaller school and having certain referees assigned to your game, sometimes those referees might have a difficult time bending in the middle.
Sure.
See, I understand that because sometimes I do too. Because they were getting older, right? So this referee, and he's like, he's one of those guys, right? He's like a linesman or whatever. And so Caden like gets the ball after the play, and he tosses it to this ref to spot the ball, right? And it when he throws the ball to him, he's a linebacker, right? He's a running back. He's not a quarterback. So when he tosses the ball to him, it kind of like hits him in the knees, right? So it's a bad throw. And so, the ref doesn't catch it naturally. And because he can't really, like I said, I get dry mouth, sorry, when I'm talking. And so the ball hits the ground, right? And so Caden, he picks up the ball again because the ref didn't catch it, right? And he's gonna like give it to him, but they already have a new ball, or he thinks they have a new ball, right? And so he's like in the state of like, am I supposed to help the ref out or not? I'm not sure what the deal is. And so he has the ball, and I think they're switching like offense defense. The story's getting all convoluted, but it's still hilarious. Okay, so now he has the ball. It's like going off the field, right, with the ball. But then he realizes they actually need that ball back on the field. So he turns around and he like throws it back just to toss it back on the field, and it hits the ref. It's the same guy. And I'm like, I'm just cracking up because there's nothing malicious going on in Caden's mind or heart, right? He's trying to help out, but he's making a mess of it by helping out, by like throwing the ball and whatever and hitting the ref and that poor ref guy. But my point is that the desire of Caden, his main desire is to win the game, right? But in his heart, he's trying to help out. He's trying to do the right thing on the field, which I think is the essence of what a care is, a Rio Hondo Prep care. And the fact that he kind of embarrassed himself by helping out is what I love to. It's terrible, but it's what I love to see. I love to see people embarrass themselves trying to do the right thing to help out, and that's what he did. And after that moment, I'm like, Caden's like one of the leaders of the team. He's like, big man on campus kind of thing. And
Stud, yeah.
I'm like, this is just a great example. I don't know if anybody else saw it, but it's just a great example of leadership, the right kind of leadership for our team. And that's the kind of thing that helps lead a Rio Hondo Prep team into the playoffs and into a championship. That's what I think. So I kind of like had, inklings of potential grandeur when I saw that. Great things to come because he hit the ref with the ball on accident.
Yeah, we do things sometimes that, we plan to do the right thing and things don't always work out. And yeah, sometimes embarrassing things can be humbling. And man, yeah, not a better. I mean, Caden Holcomb, one of the best football players on the team. Glad to have him. All CIF and all this and that. Scary dude. Yeah, it does remind me of some of the stories I've heard about you, Mr. Heaton. And on that note, you would find this funny, similar to Caden's experience. I'll throw it out. I was umpiring in the minor leagues, and it was hot in Florida. It was steamy and humid and everything. And there was a foul ball or something. The catcher went back to catch it, didn't get it. So he was kind of going back to home plate, and pitcher needed a new ball, and so the catcher. That's why you shouldn't throw the ball back to the pitcher, really, unless you're really good at it. And the catcher was kind of hobbling back to home plate, and I was not far behind him, and I saw the pitcher, and I went to throw the ball back into the pitcher. It slipped out. It only went about 10 feet or so, and it hit the poor catcher in the back of the head. This poor guy from like the Dominican or something, and he looked at me mad, but he knew he couldn't do anything. Like,
yeah,
and I'm like, I'm really sorry. Are you okay? And he had his helmet off because he was chasing.
Oh, no.
So it didn't even hit him in the helmet. And so he's just like, no. I go, I'm really, really, really sorry. So then you got to go back behind home plate and try to, be confident after all that. So it's like,
always a good idea. Take the ball out of your bag and put it in the catcher's hand. Here you go.
I know you're tired, but trust me, you don't want me throwing it back.
Yeah.
Not in this weather. So yeah, I understand Caden's frustration there that night. But yeah, you talked about photography and how you're on the sidelines. You got some great equipment there. I think Rio Hondo Prep football is in great hands as far as pictures go. Yourself, Tim Lunny, Mrs. Mosier, Clarissa Johnson. I mean, you guys really attack the football games from all angles, and we get some great photography out there, better than I'd say a lot of teams in the area. So yeah, you guys are. We need a name for you guys, like the I don't know, the photography gang or something.
Yeah, well, it's so nice now with digital. When I first started taking pictures, and I had a camera that's film, but a camera where you actually have to focus yourself, and you have to zoom yourself in and out, and focus and match things up, and you get 36 pictures on a roll of film. You had to be careful when you took a picture and make sure that it's a good one, or you're wasting film. And I would we used to buy like a 100-foot roll of film, right? And then we'd roll our own film canisters. It all has to be done in complete darkness, and wow. I'd take like 10 rolls of film with me to a game, and try to take some decent pictures, and then you bring them back and you develop them and stuff and make the prints and all the dark room and everything. It's so nice nowadays with digital. I go to a game and I take like 1,200 pictures or something in
Wow.
one game, and I'm like, yeah, I'm bound to get a couple of good ones.
Yes. So how do you, I mean, do you look, I mean, I was always wondered that of all these pictures, because I see you take a burst sometimes too, and like 1,200 photos. How do you, I mean, do you look at all of them and be like, yeah, that one's good, that one's good? How do you choose?
No, there's no way you can. I mean, you could if you had the
Yeah.
time to go through that kind of stuff, but usually it comes down to um like for example, if there's like an interception or a run, that comes your way or something like that, and then you take like a burst of pictures, which is like 10 frames per second or something, uh, then you know where your best pictures are, when you go through your pictures later. So you can go straight to that, those pictures on the computer, and then pick out the ones you want. You can kind of scan through the other ones, but and once in a while you'll catch something like, crazy or whatever that you didn't know that you actually took a picture of. But usually you just kind of like, okay, I'm going to go that interception. I know I got
Yeah.
some good pictures of that or whatever. So, but it's just like just taking and being there, trying to find the right spot. Um, like, okay, I think they're gonna run this way. I think they're gonna,
Yeah. The moment you're
whatever.
capturing the
And
moment and the
yeah,
feeling of it. Yeah.
yeah,
No, for
get
sure.
yourself in the right spot.
Do you remember, were you on the championship? I'm assuming you were on the field for the championship game. Did you get any
Yeah.
photos of that final play?
Um, I was like kind of at the opposite end of the field.
Oh, okay.
Um, and I did that on purpose because I knew that everybody was going to have everything covered picture
Yeah.
wise. And so what I was trying to do is I was trying to set myself up for celebration pictures because
Yeah.
I knew
The
it was
wide.
coming.
Yeah.
And so with, everybody at like one side of the field, like down at that one end, I was more around the middle of the field. So there's less people around me. And so when everybody like runs out there, I can kind of like get in position around them. I can flank them.
Yeah.
I can
Outside in.
flank the celebration, and get some really good pictures of people jumping up and down and stuff like that. Because those are the best shots.
Oh
The
man.
complete elation
Mm.
is those are just great shots. Yeah, but that was an amazing ending, man, wasn't it? I
Oh,
mean, that was just
we go
wow.
up 8. We go up 8, and then they go up the
Yeah,
field. I mean, typical. It went down to the wire. I mean, we're talking a fingernail. Nate Shine get his hand up there, and yeah, that was just wild. That night was crazy. Yeah, Rio did it. Santa Monica High School. I mean, that doesn't even sound right. Rio Hondo Prep beat Santa Monica in a
yeah,
championship game, 3,500 students or whatever.
yeah.
That's just unreal. I
It
mean,
was crazy. Yeah,
all the
and
playoff games.
you'd think they'd have better lights for a school like that.
You'd think.
I'm
Well, pretty
taking
old.
pictures. I'm taking pictures on a field that the lights are like Rio Hondo Prep's lights when I played back in the old days. It's like, it's it's like completely dark out there. I mean, you do like a reverse and nobody knows where the ball is because there's no lights. But
Yeah.
on top of the lighting situation, they all thought they had this great field, and it was personally, I think it's kind of neat to have like a navy blue field,
Yeah. That was cool.
turf wise, which is all great and everything. But if you have no lighting, you can't
Hmm.
have a navy blue field because it doubly makes the field dark. And now
Yeah.
it's like you can't see anything out there. So that was kind of weird. It's like, okay, pick one or the other. It's like if you're gonna have the
Let's
field like that,
go.
you got to have the lights, man.
And not to get, and we already know about the whole seating situation too.
Oh
Like, yeah,
yeah,
that
that was
was
something.
that was something. Anyway, Mr. Heaton, I had a chance to just to kind of set the table here. I had a chance. I asked your former high school teammate, Dave Carson Jr., let's say maybe a funny story or just kind of what you were like. back in the day. So Coach Carson, of course, or Dave Carson, Coach Carson's brother. But he played with you all through Rio and stuff. So he sent me a little write up here I wanted to read to you. Uh this is really funny. He says, this is from Dave Carson. Rod was unbelievably strong. He never got stuffed or lost yards. My favorite play was a counter 23 trap. I came over from tight end, trapped the defensive end and Rod, and he always make at least 5 yards. When we were kids on Superior, Mike Murphy would always pair Rod and me up to go against each other in the gladiator drills, and I'd always have a headache after. He played with a ton of passion both ways. Now, that's all nice compliments. This is a funny story, and you're gonna have to explain.
Oh no.
One time, Rod got so mad at my brother Todd and his buddies because they were throwing oranges at us from the garage patio roof. So he went up and he threw Joe Parks off the roof. I'm not trying to incriminate you or anything, Mr. Heaton, but that's really funny.
Well, it's funny for everyone except for Joe Parks, poor guy.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm assuming the oranges stopped being thrown after that.
Well, once I got to the fort, it was our fort. They took our fort.
How old were you guys? How old were you guys at this time?
We might have been 8th grade or 7th
or
8th grade. Yeah, or junior high.
Junior high age. Okay.
Perfect. Yeah, we're junior high. And so, that's, we're junior high, which makes Todd and, Rick and those guys and Joe, like 2 or 3 years younger than us. Because when I was a senior in high school, they were freshmen.
Okay.
Okay. And so they actually, some of those guys played up in varsity with us because we had so few people. But that's another story. But so, yeah. So we had our at the Carson's house. They have this the garage, like a set apart kind of garage, and then they had like a awning kind of overhead deck kind of thing. And so we'd climb up there and for a fort, and there's like an orange tree in like the neighbor's yard. I think it was the Taylor's probably that was next door. And so we just picked a bunch of oranges for ammunition for whatever invaded our fort.
That's right.
So I don't know, what caused it, but we left our fort unguarded, and then came back, and they had taken our fort, and I wasn't about to let that happen.
No.
And so I was, it wasn't like, it was just like, game mode, it was like, it's on, and so they were up on the fort, and then they started using our own ammunition against us, throwing oranges.
Oh.
And, they weren't slouches when it came to being able to throw things. And so we're kind of like, moving up on them. And one of them, I don't know who it was, but someone hit me with an orange. And I don't know if it hit me in the head or the chest or whatever, but it hit me. And then once they did that, it was all over.
Yeah.
And so I just took off and, went up the side of the wall almost to get up there. And everybody that was up there, and it must have been 5, 6, 7 guys or whatever, were able to scatter because I was scary coming after them, right? And so I got up there, they all scattered except for poor Joe. And I don't know why, but I got up there and I'm like looking around for someone to tear apart, right? And so Joey, I see him, and then he just crumbles. He just like falls on the deck because he's just like, I don't know. And so I just went over to him and just in blind rage, I guess, I just grabbed him and threw him off the roof. And he was fine, fortunately.
Yeah.
But poor guy. Uh, but yeah, it's he just couldn't figure out a way to get off the roof before I got up there. See, the problem is that I say we were in junior high, but by the end of my 7th grade year, all through eighth grade, uh, I had reached my full height.
Yeah.
So I was 5'11" and 3/4. By the end of my 7th grade year, I was huge. And and so forget about the whole just a 7th grader, 8th grader, someone like 2 or 3 years older than you coming at you. But I was a full size, man. And I just picked him up and threw him. Poor guy.
Yeah. Joe
If you're
listens to this
watching,
pod.
Joe, I'm sorry.
It's a long time ago. Hey, it could have been anyone. He was
That's
just
your limitations. You can't come after me now. That's
he listens to the show, so I know he'll be laughing, and hopefully
all
Todd
right.
and Rick and but yeah, those guys, I remember hearing about that. You and Dave were really close, and then Randy too, and then Rick and Todd were the younger brothers. So you terrorized those guys, from what I heard, at least Dave, Carson, and Randy a little bit.
Yeah, I
Plus they
kind
had
of
you.
lived a little further away, so
Yeah.
I joined in from time to time, but not as much as those guys.
This is
Those guys.
Dave also said this. Rod was also really into looking really good in uniform. On JV, he showed me how to get my football pants stain free and pure white by soaking them in the kitchen sink. He and I were also water boys for the '82 championship team. We lived, breathed, and died RHP football. Wow.
Yeah, we did.
Kitchen. What was this, soaking pants in the kitchen sink for what?
I don't remember that one.
There must have been a trick or something that you
There must have
came up
been,
with.
and I'm sure my mom showed me. I lived with my mom, and she was brilliant woman, could cook anything, and you know could do anything at home. Yeah, she was amazing, and I'm sure she showed me. So much so that I do remember this. Whereas we would go on the summer trips, right? And you know, we went 80, was it 85? Yeah, 85 was like a 10-week trip. It was like
Wow.
10 weeks, man.
Oof.
And then, when I was a senior in 87, it was like an 8-week trip. And I would bring along a sewing kit because you're gonna tear something,
Oh yeah.
on the trip. And so, my mom taught me to sew. She goes, "Here, take this." So, I'm in the bus, and I'm sewing buttons or rips and stuff in my clothes, and then all of a sudden guys are like coming up, "Hey, can you sew mine too?" I'm like, I had a nice little business going in the back of the bus, sewing things back together. So yeah,
Nice.
I did know a few things, I guess.
Yeah. That's awesome. Well, I look at you in your football uniform, old photos of you, and you do look quite scary. 55 across the chest. You got a towel. You got all kinds of things that elbow go past the neck roll and the full face mask. I mean, you do look rather intimidating there, Mr. Heaton.
I worked on that. Yeah, I definitely worked on trying to look intimidating.
That is awesome. That is awesome. We got to get that photo out for people. But yeah, you look at '80s football player for sure.
Yeah.
That is really good stuff. Well, we talked about you throwing Joey Parks off the roof, and we talked we talked to uniforms a little bit. We'll get to more Rio stuff, but let's talk about your beginning, your care origin. I always love asking guys that, if it was a friend told you about it, or what was the beginning, if you can remember, about your journey here with Care Youth League.
Well, I went to Baldwin Stocker Elementary School in Arcadia, and it was I think it was the middle of my first grade year, and I think I'd already missed football season. So, it might have been middle of my kindergarten year. I'm not sure, whatever. And my mom, I remember she was on the phone with like a family friend and a guy who was a friend at school. And my mom's like, hey, so and so's in this sports organization, BCL, whatever it is. You want to join? I'm like, nah, I don't want to do that. She goes, well, are you sure? Because your friend's in it and you can, be part of his team. And I'm like, oh, well, yeah, okay, sure, why not? So, I joined the team, and that was when, we joined Superior Spartans. And I had missed football season the first year, and when I joined the team, I don't know if it's probably like basketball season. I'm not really much of a basketball player. Um, but then when the summer came around, and we had like, the track meet, right? And so the coach, and there's like, you know, 20 guys on our team, so the coach is trying to figure out like who can do what events, right? And me, I was like, I wasn't, I was just the same height as everybody, but I was round, I was round. And it's just kind of the way I was built. But I was fast, and I knew I was fast. Um, and so when the coaches, I think it was like Mike Murphy and Matt Rodricks were our like high school coaches, Steve Brink, these guys. Uh, and they're like giving us assignments to race or whatever, and I wasn't being given any assignments to race. It's the way we did it back then. And so I went to them and I said, I'm pretty fast. Can I run a race? And they're like looking at me and I'm like, well, maybe you can roll down the the thing. But they go, oh, okay, if you want to, it's fine. And then they lined me up, and I think it was the 25-yard dash or whatever it was, and I got first place, because I told them I was fast.
Yeah.
And then they told me later, when I got older, they're like, when you said that, we're like, there's no way you're going to win this race. But then they're like, when you won it, they're like, they just started like thinking football. This like just started going through their heads, like, I wonder what we can do with this guy.
Yeah.
So yeah, it kind of started that way. But yeah, I was always kind of fast, short distance, not
Short.
not long distances.
No, absolutely. With a football in your hand, very fast, short
Yeah.
bursts, right?
Yeah,
And
short bursts.
had that speed, and then 5'11" in junior high, that sure helps. So
Yeah.
but you remember playing with Dave Carson even at a young age, and kind of your early KWL days when you started playing football?
Yeah, absolutely. The old days where you wore your helmet that had padding that's like, this thick, right?
Yeah, I remember
And
that.
it just has the suspension kind of thing in the middle that's not padded. It's just like
No.
it's strapped. So it's like it's no padding. And then it's just like the two bars that go across the
Two
the
bars,
front.
yeah.
And we had our Superior Spartans jersey, and then everybody just wore blue jeans. That was what you had.
That's
And
right.
then you try to have cleats, but
Mhm.
not everybody did. But yeah, you had blue jeans and your jersey and stuff. And uh, Dave and I we'd always go at each other. It was uh, always. I mean, like when we were kids through when we were on varsity, we were always like matched up, and it's like we're the best of friends, but we would never let the
Mm-mm.
other guy get the best of us.
Oh. Mm-mm.
And so we were all, if we ever went against each other, it was like, kill or be killed kind of thing. But yeah, we had those gladiator drills, which I'm so glad that coaches don't do anymore. It's like the worst thing you can possibly do is to train a kid to lead with their head. Um,
Oh, yeah.
which I
Not good.
learned quite well to be able to
Hmm.
do that. And you know, that was kind of the way I ran the ball. It's like if you were gonna hit me, I was gonna hit you first, and so I
Yeah.
would just lower my head and blow people away.
It,
So yeah, that's kind of the way we did it back then. But yeah, Dave and I, we always going at each other, man. It's great.
yeah. Still great friends today. And
Oh yeah,
it's so interesting to me that, like, you and Dave, these very guys, big hearts, very friendly guys. And I've just heard, I heard from Todd a lot about his brother Dave. Dave was just a monster on a football field, and I know about you. So there must have been this when you're on a football field. I mean, in high school specifically, like there's this sounds like there was this switch that flipped with you guys, and like because you wouldn't believe Pastor Dave Carson was this animal on the football field, but
yeah,
apparently you and him both were.
yeah. He was, I was big and strong. That was like my advantage, and I was fast. But Dave, he had like a. I was like jealous of him when he played because he had kind of a sixth sense, of like how, like where the ball was going to be and how to tackle somebody, so that you for sure did not miss the tackle, but we're still going full speed when you made the tackle.
Wow.
It was staggering to me how he could do that. Because normally, you're going for a tackle and you kind of slow it down, break it down right before you make the tackle or whatever. The dude never slowed down. He would just go full speed every time, and he would just clobber people, and he was a stick, you know, he was
Yeah.
just he was just so thin, and he was the most vicious linebacker I've ever seen. He was like, he embodied tenacity, you
Mm,
know. Um, it was just amazing. And so our senior year, before our senior year, I was playing linebacker. It was like Dave and I were like linebackers. And then when
that's
we were
good.
seniors, Rick Johnson was a freshman, but he was able to play up on varsity, and he was good enough to play linebacker on varsity as a freshman, so that I could play somewhere else. And so they put me on defensive line for most of the defenses, um, which put so much more pressure on the quarterback and the backfield, the guys trying to get plays off. And it was really nice because uh, Dave and I were on the same side. That was
Oh,
vicious.
woo,
And
run the other way. Run the
yeah,
other way.
and I'll never forget the time we were playing in the semifinals our senior year, and we're playing Masada, which is
Ah,
kind of a correctional school,
yep.
and those guys were tough. Man, those
Oof.
guys were tough. They beat us up. I mean, we won, but they beat it. We won because the score was in our favor, but they won because they beat us up. But there was like, it was near the end of the game, and they had a quarterback who was just extremely fast, and he's just really good at scrambling. And Dave and I like on the same side, and I'm defensive end, he's linebacker, and the quarterback just needs like a yard for a first down, and it's like near the end of the game. We're just barely up. So he just starts sprinting around the end. And so, I'm just a little bit outside and Dave's just a little bit inside, and we just start running, just like neck and neck to meet this guy at the corner, and I don't know how we got there, but we got there at the same time their quarterback did, and he did not get the yard that was needed, and we both hit him at the same time. And if you remember the sidelines and the bank
Oof.
where the bleachers were, we hit them into the bank because we were
Yeah.
just going full speed. We didn't push them. We just like went with them all the way into the bank. And that was probably the most vivid, amazing memory of working with Dave
Mm,
ever. It was incredible. But the other time that was really funny was there was we were playing Chadwick, and their quarterback was like scrambling, and Dave was going after him, but the quarterback, someone got a hold of his foot, and so he was stuck and he couldn't
Oh,
move, right? And and I'm like opposite side of the field, and so I'm like looking across the field, and I see this guy just trying to like pull his foot out, and then just I see Dave coming full speed, and I'm going, that guy is gonna die. And then and then Dave, like I said, he never slowed down. And so somehow, miraculously, for this poor guy's own, lifespan, he was able to just kind of turn at the last second. And Dave did like a flyby, like Maverick on like a aircraft carrier. He just zoomed just like straight by him, and missed him. And then they blew the whistle, fortunately for this guy, because Dave would have got back up and he'd have come around for another pass if he could have. But yeah, that was the one time I ever remember Dave missing. It was a good thing too, because
oh,
that guy would have been hurting because he
saved
was
a
just
life.
standing still. Yeah, Dave, he's an amazing guy. Yeah,
Wow.
absolutely.
Wow. That's awesome to hear. He mentioned you guys were water boys on the 82 championship team, and that was a special era of kind of 81, 82, 83, three championship game appearances consecutively. And, being a water boy kind of, or even before that, kind of looking up to Rio football as that's kind of the message this summer early on is those experiences of when you're a kid kind of looking up to Rio players and wanting to do that someday, I think is very, very unique. So for you to kind of be younger before your high school days, looking at those early 80s teams, that had to fuel you a little bit and be like, man, I want to do this someday.
Um, no, not fuel me a little bit, fuel me a lot. uh, I mean, that was the fuel. I mean, I was so grateful to have that experience, especially for them to go, to I was water boy for 82 and 83, but for them to actually win in 82 was phenomenal, because it's like this is like my first year at Rio Hondo Prep. I wasn't even in the school yet.
Mm,
And they asked me to be water boy. They knew me, like the varsity guys knew me. I wasn't even in the school yet, and these guys like knew my name, and they asked me if I wanted to be a water boy, and I'm like, oh, okay.
yeah.
And they're like, welcoming me as water boy to their team. And it was so special back then. And I don't know what it's like necessarily now, but we had, we wore special shirts and, slacks and stuff. And we had special jobs. And so it was really cool. It was just amazing. And up to that point, my entire life, like on Superior, I wore number 54. And then when I got to be water boy, a guy named Norm Schultz wore 55, and I traded up because of because
Wow.
of Norm, to 55, and that's the number I wore all through high school because of Norm. Um, and I think it was probably because, and the legend goes with Norm Schultz, that we were playing an away game at Coast Union, up up the
Oh
coast,
yeah.
uh, pretty far away, and it was actually the school where they actually filmed Arachnophobia there. If you've ever seen or heard
Oof,
of that movie.
oof.
Yeah,
Okay.
right. So there's a scene in Arachnophobia on the football field where they're like people sitting in the bleachers that we played at in like 82, 83, whatever. And Norm, I think it was 83 actually when this happened, but we were beating them, and it was, we were on the verge of skunking them, 45 nothing or whatever. And they were on offense, and Norm hit somebody, and it wasn't a cheap shot. It wasn't like out of bounds. It was just he hit somebody, and the ref didn't like it because Coach Union was getting thumped.
Throw. Yeah.
So the ref threw a flag for a personal foul on
Yeah.
Norm Schultz, and Mr. Johnson, he's like, what did he do? Because if he did something wrong or bad, I want to get after him. If it's like a personal foul, usually you do something, right? And so the ref comes over, and Mr. Johnson's like, well, what did he do? And the ref's like, well, it was a personal foul. And Mr. Johnson's like, but what did he do? And
Yes.
the ref goes, and again, maybe this is just urban legend, but this is what went around. The ref said he hit him too hard.
I saw where that was going. Yeah. I
And
gotta read.
and Mr. Johnson's like, okay, you bad boy, you
Yeah,
you
how
mean
dare-
guy, you.
How dare you?
And so, that just kind of went down in history right there. And so I'm going to be number 55. And
Yeah.
I'm going to get a penalty someday for hitting someone too hard. And I probably did at some point, but they didn't say that I just hit someone too hard.
Yeah, that's hilarious. The first championship game I ever officiated in CIF was an 8-man championship, which I thought was cool because I played 8-man football back in the day. So I was like, cool. And Coach Union, they came down to play Faith Baptist. So a little fun fact there. I was like, I know Coach Union.
So they
That's
improved. Good for them.
yeah,
Yeah, that's
they,
good.
They certainly did. That's really funny. I'm gonna talk about your team there. In the late '80s, I believe '87. If I'm not mistaken, I believe you guys went all the way to the finals. Lost it was it at Templeton or was it a home game?
It was a home game.
Oh man, Rio doesn't lose too many finals at home. 95 comes to mind.
No.
And anyway,
Yeah,
I'm sorry to relive a painful memory, but talk to me
that's
about
all right.
that year in the championship game. We got to talk about the good and the bad times sometime.
Sure. Well, it was I have to we'll go to the bad times right before, because
Sure.
that was my senior year in '87, and then my junior year in '86 is about halfway through the season, and I tore my hamstring literally in half. I mean, I did the splits. I mean, it was the craziest thing. Muddy field at Chadwick, and I'm running around the end. I planted my foot so that I wouldn't just run out of bounds. And then someone like hits me from the side, which forced my leg down. And then someone hit me from behind, which forced my head down. And my left leg just kept going out of bounds. I couldn't stop it. And so, I mean, it's like I literally heard the tear going on in my head. And so I was out for the rest of the season. And, I'm like at the hospital, and I'm like, can I play next week? And the doctor's like, well, probably not. I'm like, what about the week after that? He goes, well, we'll just see how things go. But I was out through basketball, and then even into baseball, I played, but I aggravated it a couple times and still didn't play. But by the time my senior year rolls around and a lot of workout over the summer, I was back to where I apologize if you hear dogs barking in the background.
Hey, no worries.
I was back to where I could, run full speed. So it was funny because, I went down like halfway through my junior year, and by the end of the season, we were 3-6. Not a very impressive record. And then, but Randy got a lot of passing yards, and Dave got a lot of receiving yards that year because we had no running game anymore. But then at the end of the year, we were 3-6, and like I said, I went down halfway through the season. At the end of the season, I still had the third most tackles on the team.
Oh, wow.
That's how bad our team was. The second most was Randy, who played safety. And the person who had the most was Dave. because he pretty much made every tackle, every play.
Yeah.
But so then our senior year, it's like no one's expecting greatness from our team, right? But strangely enough, we were like ranked number 1 in like the preseason rankings. It was the
Wow.
weirdest thing. And people are writing about our team and stuff, and everybody's like, why are you ranking these guys? And it was because of Randy, Dave, and me that we're coming back as seniors. Even though we got
Sure.
hammered, the year before, and when we were sophomores, we were 5-4. But for whatever reason, people saw something in the 3 of us as seniors with a lot of potential. And I think it really we were able to get a team around us, and some of those freshman guys like Rick and those guys, and Todd, and some of those other guys that were freshmen. Joey Parks, yeah, he was on the team.
That's right.
And we're able to kind of put things together and really just figured things out. I mean, by the time the playoffs rolled around, and remember it's 8-man football, right? The playoffs roll around and we're undefeated. And not only are we undefeated, but 4 of the teams that we had played during the season, the game ended at halftime because of the skunk rule. Dogs. They're so annoying. So we actually, I mean, if you think about it, played 2 full less games.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So, I had, the amount of rushing yardage that I could have potentially had by the end of the season, the amount of passing yardage that Randy could have had by the end of the season, all those kind of things would have been really different if we'd have had four
Yeah.
halves back, right? So going into the playoffs, we were looking pretty good. And there's only 3 rounds in the playoffs. It's like you start at quarterfinals.
Yeah.
You call it first round, but it's really quarterfinals. And we played Faith Baptist, and we played them the first game of the season, and we beat them by a touchdown or 2. And then when we played them again in the first round, they're like, we're not going to win this game. They had already given up. I mean, we hammered them in the first round. And then the second round was, like I mentioned earlier, we played Masada. They beat us up really badly.
Physically,
So much so that I hurt my neck, probably from all those gladiator type drills that I did. And I spent the entire week before the championship game in physical therapy. I didn't practice the whole week. Nowadays, there's no way in the world I would have played the championship game. Not a chance, right? With all the protocols and everything, no way.
Oh yeah.
But back then, they're like, "You okay? Yeah, I'm fine. All right, you're in."
Good enough.
Yeah, you're good. And then, we get to the finals, and each game was a home game in the playoffs, because we were, so ranked, our record and everything. So we're playing Templeton at home. We'd already played them once, earlier in the season. We beat them earlier in the season at home. So they had to travel the second time to play us at home for the championship game. And there's the dog. There it is.
Right. Another football fan.
Hey, there you are.
All right.
Okay, go away now. And so they had to travel down to play us, and they figured us out. I think they figured out that that our starting corners were freshmen.
Oh.
And it's like they just kind of figured out what would work to find the cracks in our defense. we still scored 21 points, and I think all 3 of the touchdowns were scored by Randy. But so we were still kind of, able to,
Yeah.
stay in the game, but it's like they just figured out
Mm.
how to slip through the cracks, and they did. And so they were able to pull it out, and they wore us down. And, like I said, it didn't help that I was injured basically the whole week and for the game. I had a neck roll for the championship game that I wrapped extra like socks
Yeah.
around the neck roll. I was like that. But yeah, the way it goes. But we did have a big pizza party afterwards, so that was good.
Oh, well, I guess that kind of helps. I don't know. Losing a championship game is no fun. That last game of any season, taking that
Yeah,
helmet off the last time is just no fun. I want to ask you about Randy since you mentioned him a few times. We talked about Dave, but Randy Johnson, now our current offensive coordinator, does a
yeah.
phenomenal job. And just kind of, we know that he's a, was a big time passer and great quarterback back in the day. But if you could, as just a teammate, so some of these parents maybe who know Randy Johnson calls the plays, just talk about the type of player he was and teammate and just overall guy he was alongside you all those years.
Oh, the thing about Randy, he had a great arm. He could scramble, he could run, and he, but he wasn't the greatest athlete. Dave wasn't the greatest athlete. I wasn't the greatest athlete, but somehow the 3 of us, because we'd been, you know, friends for, our whole lives, um, it's like we knew how each other thought, you know,
Mm.
and when Dave went out on a pass pattern, he's tight end, right? And it helped that he was like, 6'3" or, or 6'4",
Yeah.
whatever he was. But it was like it's somehow it was like Randy had like a GPS as to where Dave was. It's like he knew where he was going to be. And half the time, especially our junior year, half the time Randy was throwing the ball with his left foot up in the air and his right foot, planted, and he's falling backwards, as he's throwing the ball just to get, yeah, you know what I'm talking about, right? That kind of
Yeah.
like fall backwards kind of throw. And he put it where he just knew Dave was going to be. And whether it was, it's probably a combination of just him understanding Dave and knowing Dave so thoroughly. And then, when Dave's lined up at tight end and then Randy's lined up at quarterback, then they just both look up, see the defense, and essentially Mr. Randall Johnson, Randy's dad, would just go, okay. He called it a tight end 10-20 middle.
10-20 middle. Yes.
Okay. Which basically meant, Dave, go out short, long, 10 yards, 20 yards, doesn't matter. Get open, dude.
Yeah.
That was basically the play. I'm not kidding. It had a name for it, tight end
Mhm.
10-20 middle, but it was just like, get open,
Yeah.
long, short, doesn't matter. Just get open.
Find the hole. Find the crease.
Exactly. And so somehow, Dave would find the crease, but he could see it before he's like lined up, either,
Mhm.
intuition or,
The
literally
mind.
visually
Yeah.
see it. But Randy saw it too. And it's like Randy knew exactly what Dave was thinking when he started to go out, because it's like,
Mm.
how else could he know where to throw the ball when he's like falling backwards?
That's
But he
special.
did it, and they connected for, tons of yardage. So I think that kind of uh, mentality that Randy had, of like understanding who's around him, right? Understanding his players, understanding the other coaches and how they might be thinking, the calls that might be made, seeing the field and how people are lined up and how the other team is going to react based on how they're lined up to what he's going to call. It's like he has this intuition about what's going on in the field that I find amazing. I coached with him for a few years in the middle school, care. And when we coached football, he coached offense and I coached defense. And I'd run defenses because I thought, oh, this would be really cool defense. This is going to be great. I'm going to blitz somebody, whatever. But with Randy, like I said, the thing I learned about him is he understood the game so much more than I could ever possibly, understand the game. Just an insight into the mind of the players, the minds of the coaches, what's going on in the field, how things are developing. And, this year when they're going into the playoffs, like in the finals, and because I was there, I know how people feel, like the players who are like really nervous, and like just kind of going over things in their head and things like that. And so I actually I texted Randy like before like the final game. Probably didn't need it, but I texted him and I just said something like, don't overthink anything. Don't go beyond what is going to work and what won't work. God's in charge. He's going to lead you one way or the other. So there's no sense stressing over anything or getting nervous over anything. Basically just be yourself, have faith, and what works. What'll work out. And obviously it did, but again, just his his mental acuity when it comes to understanding that whole 100 yards on that field is staggering. Yeah, it really is.
Yeah, he really is something. And it's no surprise, being a great quarterback he was, playing for his father, who was a legendary coach himself, that the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. And yeah, sometimes in games, he'll call something and it'll work perfect. And you're like, there's no way that should have worked. Like, and yet he saw 3 steps ahead as far as chess match. And hey, offensive coordinators are not always right. I'm sure people get mad about, but he's just calm demeanor. Hey, 3rd and 8, no problem. He'll do some running play or something that goes for 15. You're like, how did he see that? How did he's got great help around him, but he's done a tremendous job as far as the offense goes with Rio Hondo.
And I can't think of another coach who would be stupid enough to do what he did in the championship game, which was to how many times did he run Noah Paneri like in a row? Was it like 8 times or something in a row? He just ran them because it was working. So it's like, it worked last time. Let's just do it again.
Yeah. Or St. Margaret's, the first round game.
It kept working.
We ran like the same play like 30 something times or whatever it was. And it's just like, yeah, sometimes you get in your own way and it's just like, oh, he looks like a genius, but in reality, hey, this worked. Let's do it again.
So many people just try to outthink themselves. Like, okay, what do I got to do? What new play do I got to call now? Instead of like, well, that worked. Let's keep doing it until it doesn't work. That's a great idea.
That's a great idea. That's like football 101. Make them stop it.
Exactly.
For sure. But then he also has something. Oh, we got another dog visitor. What's the dog's name?
Its name is Ahsoka. Obviously a Star Wars, Ahsoka.
I had no doubt there would be a Star Wars theme there. Well, he's just hanging out watching the podcast here. But like in the championship game, then he also has something set aside in his pocket for a unique situation. 4th and 2. and we do the play action. Mustaine to Tafflinger in that end zone down there. I mean, everyone will remember forever that play. And he just, no, let's do this. And you just call him. And that
Yep.
was a great call in the right time.
Yep.
Wow. Wow. Well, I could talk Rio football forever. Memory lane and everything. I want to touch on some Gator days though. Back, it's when we met. I was in 4th grade, and you were the assistant coach with Mr. Gary Shintaku. And I look back on that and I'm like, man, Rod Heaton and Gary Shintaku together. That is something special that I got to experience. You guys were all about gadgets, uniform stuff, fun outings. I mean, we were blessed to have both of you guys. How well do you remember that gate? Well, yours only 1 year, right, with the Gators?
No,
Maybe
I was a couple of years. Yeah,
Okay,
I was a couple of years
beautiful,
with the Gators. Yeah.
nice.
Yeah, a few years with yeah, I was a few years with the Gators. I had just I was on Superior when I was a kid, and then uh I assistant coached Superior when I was in high school. And so I think when I got out of high school, I started helping out with like the Superior, like DCBs, the little
Mhm.
kids, which was a lot of fun. Calling plays for C's, right? And pitching to them in the C division. You get the coach has to pitch to them, figuring out how best to pitch to like C age kids, right? Those little boys. Um, and then at one point I switched, and so I think I was because the Gators needed like some coaches because it was like they're just starting the Wingate
Yeah.
program and stuff like that, and so someone that might have been Mr. Bullinger or Mr. Shintaku, I think it might have been Mr. Shintaku actually, who who needed another coach, and so they asked uh, because I don't know, they just wanted a trade,
Yeah.
get a first round, draft pick or whatever so they asked for me to trade, and whoever was in charge goes, yeah, all right, go ahead. So I was like, what? I'm going to the Gators? Ew. But
Wingate.
Wingate. But I think it was probably the best thing that could have happened for sure. Other than meeting you, of course, which was like, the
Well,
ultimate best thing
naturally.
that could have happened.
Yeah.
But the coaching with Miss Shintaku, every coach has, a certain style. Every coach has gifts, strengths, weaknesses, um, and I think as an assistant coach or somebody who comes along and coaches with somebody, it is absolutely your responsibility and privilege to learn from, the other coach, whether they're younger or older. Figure out what works for them, figure out what doesn't work for them, and if you can glean something from them that's good, do it.
Yeah.
And Miss Shintaku, like you said, he loved gadgets. He loved some neat stuff we mentioned earlier. I got the idea of headsets from him. They're just really cool, because you could talk to somebody 5 feet away from you. It's really neat.
Yeah.
Uh, and then, like I said earlier, he had his waterproof paper that he would bring out to, if it was raining or even just sprinkling, right?
Yeah.
And you'd have, use pencil on this paper. But yeah, this is just waterproof paper is the great stuff. Yeah, so he had a number of stuff like that, and we mentioned earlier, like looking good, looking intimidating, looking sharp as a team or a player or whatever. And I think I got a lot of that from him, because he would always make sure if he had, helmets, football helmets or, baseball helmets, that
Baseball.
they had striping on them. They looked, good. He put numbers on the back of them, took care of his equipment. And I learned a lot of that from him, how to take care of equipment. In fact, at some point, when you have, team equipment, like especially like catcher's equipment, something like that, if it's shared by multiple teams, it's inevitably going to get destroyed.
Yep. Yep.
So it's like, get a job, make some money, go out, buy your own catcher's equipment, and you'll always have it looking good because you'll take care of it. And so little things like that I learned from him. But yeah, looking sharp out on the field, having the right socks. Mr. Shintaku always had an extra couple pairs of socks in his bag for when a kid forgot his, blue socks, the Gator socks at the game. He wasn't gonna, let the kid play without the right socks, But on the other hand, he wasn't gonna just simply tell the kid you can't play. He had the socks there for him if he needed it. So it's just so many things that I learned from Mr. Shintaku, and then it just so happened that the two of us working together, and the first summer I don't think you were with us. I think it was just Brian and Vince or Mansky that was with Gary and I when we went up to Mammoth Mountains. We went fishing, and I really had, I fished at like a trout pond when I was a kid or whatever. But then Gary's like, no, let's just go fishing. So I bought like a day license, and then that was all it took. And then I was hooked, right? on fishing, and always have been ever since. And the best thing ever is I married somebody who loves fishing probably more than I do. She still makes me clean all the fish, but that's all right.
Hey,
she'll go fishing
absolutely.
anytime. She got all her own gear and everything, and she got a little float device where she can go out in the water and stuff. Yeah, it's great.
Perfect date. Sounds like a date night. And
yeah, it's wonderful.
And I'll remind you that I believe that, well, I know at one time she was, but maybe you guys were coaching the Gators at the same time. I know she was a Gator coach. So
yeah, she was a Gator coach too.
Little Providence, maybe. I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there. Destiny.
Yeah,
that's right. The Gators bringing true love together. That's right.
Yeah.
I still remember at that. I always brought it up. I've brought it up to you before, but it's fun to share. I don't know when you guys were not before you were married, and you used to trade Hershey's Kisses or whatever. And I was at a wedding or something, one of the care weddings, and you were my coach at the time, and you said, "Hey Matt, go give this to that girl over there." I was like, "What? Oh, okay, whatever." So I went, and so I was I'm a courier now. I'm a delivery driver, and that was one of my first deliveries. Was made made for Coach Heaton there.
It worked out just because of you. Yeah.
The Gators and the big message, delivery man. So that is fun stuff. But yeah, the Gators, we had some good times, Mr. Heaton. I remember it seemed like it was always me, Nick Fuentes, and the Urmanski brothers in your truck, whether it was going to church, we went to Disneyland one time, countless crazy outings. We went to Mammoth. You were the first guy that started picking me up and taking me to church, and we hadn't gone much before. And then, it was the four of us. We go to lunch or go to lunch after, maybe watch a LaserDisc movie afterwards. I mean, remember those?
Oh yeah. Those are the
times.
greatest, man. The predecessors to DVD and Blu-ray, LaserDiscs.
LaserDisc, what is this? And then the sound came in and was like, whoa, this is neat.
Oh yeah. I've always been like, a huge Star Wars fan. I just love movies. And so, VHS tape was like so passe, right? I had to get LaserDiscs. And people haven't even heard of them nowadays. Like, what in the world is a LaserDisc? But yeah, it's a size of a record. It's like a full size thing, and they're really thick, and then you have to flip them over because the digital was encoded on both sides of these big old discs. And some movies you had to there was like two discs, and you had to flip them like both discs to get to the movie. But man, the picture looked good. It was it was good.
If people have no idea, I'm like, God, these are my experience as a kid. Mr. Heaton and LaserDiscs and Burger Palace and then LaserDiscs or something,
Burger Palace and LaserDiscs.
That's there you go.
Yeah, the good old days, man.
Simpler times.
Yeah.
And then, but yeah, we had home and away jerseys on the Gators. We had like basketball warm-ups. We had all kinds of unique stuff.
Oh yeah.
And you painted the Gator club room because you're an artist, painter. And so you had this giant Gator bursting through the wall. I remember that. I mean, that was awesome. We just had all kinds of great stuff on the Gators.
Oh yeah. Yeah, painted on the wall. But you mentioned those warm-ups. That's another thing that Mr.
Yeah,
Taku Gary did. He would, for Christmas parties every year,
every year.
if we didn't do, trade gifts or whatever, he would have everybody pay for their own gift.
Yeah,
He
but
would
it
say,
wasn't. Yeah,
but okay, bring your money, whatever it costs. But we would go out and we would get like sweatshirts and sweatpants and put numbers on them and
the
gators down the
logos.
side of the pants
Yeah,
for your Christmas gift for the Christmas party that year. Oh man, we looked good.
we looked
Yeah,
so
that
good.
was great. Those were
And we
great
put
times.
and we played all right too, so that helped. But I remember you were oh, there was a play. So I had this weird memory in the back of my head. Like there was like a loose ball or something. You were running stats, basketball, and I like dove for it and I tapped the ball down to maybe Fuentes, who laid it in or something. And I remember you on the side, like, give him an assist. And you wrote it down. I'm like, I remember going, what's an assist? And you're like, it's when you pass the ball to someone who scores. And I was like, oh, I like that. That's a real stat. Let's get more of those. And it was on a loose ball, diving for it too. So that's where my origin of diving for loose balls started on
Yeah.
that Wingate cement, right?
Oh yeah. The Wingate
Just,
cement that as soon as a little bit of water hit it, you had to call the game because it was so
oh,
slick.
like an ice rink out there.
It was.
Uh, but I mean, those fields and everything, the Gophers, just so many good memories. We may have learned a few different ways to kill gophers out there as kids, and that's just boys being boys and
Yeah.
running
There you go.
running around the creek. And then what's the other thing I was going to tell you? But yeah, the Gators, good time. And one specific memory I have of you again is we were fourth graders, and you were the head coach on like the fifth grade team, and we practiced say Tuesdays and Thursdays. But your team practiced Fridays. And so you would tell us fourth graders, you'd be like, hey, if you guys want to come play against the fifth graders, the AAA guys, we were AA guys, you can come to practice and play, and then we'll all go to the Rio Hondo game afterwards. So number one, it was opportunity to play more football, which I was all about. And then to play guys bigger and better than you was like kind of scary. But then we got to go to the Rio game. So I was like, all right, so I'll go. So a few of us went and did that. And that's where I went to probably my most Rio games was again with you taking your team to the games and back. And really that's where the love for me started with Rio football was practicing on Fridays, going to the game, then having our game Saturday mornings, and then church. And it was just a great weekend. Then church with Mr. Heaton. I mean, do you remember taking us to Rio games and having us come to your practices too?
I remember all that kind of stuff. And, it almost seems like nowadays it's almost impossible to do that kind of thing with liabilities and insurance and scary stuff in the news and the media or whatever nowadays, which is all understandable. But I'm so glad that I did that with you guys. One, it's created these memories, but I think two, you know, I I've had my kids. My kids are all grown up now, and I'm not stupid enough to think that all their positive memories from their childhood are going to be centered around everything that I did with them.
Mm,
Uh, so often the best things that kids are going to do are with a young adult who's goes out to play with them, take them, do something with them, to take them out to eat and watch a laser disc, whatever happens to be. Those are the kind of memories that kids. Sure, they're gonna my kids are gonna remember stuff that I did, but um, you know, as a parent, and I think most parents will understand this, I can harp on something for my kids, like, you need to do this, you need to do this, you need to stop doing that, stop doing that, stop doing that. And they're not hearing me, or they are, but it's kind of like being stored in the back of their head or whatever. And then, your kids will come home one day and they'll say that their coach, told them that they shouldn't do something. And you're like, I've been telling you that for 15 years, you know, but that's good. That's
Hmm.
okay. And that's a great thing. Which is, and fortunately, I kind of got that concept when I was that young one who could, take you guys around and, go fishing with you, take you to church and do all that kind of stuff with you. And it was nice that I had my Dodge Dakota that had an
Oh,
extra cab
love that
where
truck.
where I could
Love that
fit,
truck.
a couple extra guys in the back all squished, but you guys fit in there. Uh, but yeah, it's so valuable, I think,
Mm,
to young people's lives to be able to connect with a young adult who doesn't have a family yet that can be a good example of
yeah.
somebody that these young people want to follow. um, and yeah, I'm so glad I was able to. I could have been like that, but I could have had a bunch of loser kids, that I was taking around everywhere. But fortunately, I had you guys. It was great.
Yeah. Oh,
So
it was fun.
you guys wanted to go to the Burger Palace and watch
Yeah.
Star Wars with me, so that's cool.
Yeah. Yeah. We had you were like 25 at the time, I think, if the
Something
math is
like
right
that.
there, somewhere in
Yeah.
there. And no, yeah, that truck. I mean, you always had the latest like Disney soundtrack in your truck, whether it was
Yeah.
Tarzan or Lion King, and we'd be blasting that in your truck and everything. So these are again just fun memories for me. Did you have a bunch of did you clean pools? Did you have a bunch of pool gear in the back? Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a bunch of
Yeah.
pool
I
gear.
clean. Yeah.
And this
Clean
25-year-old
pools.
guy, 25-year-old guy gets out of his truck and out spills, four dudes, four kids, four boys, fourth graders, fifth grader,
Yeah.
a bunch of equipment in the back. Oh, great
Yeah.
times. I
They
remember
they
that.
got me. They got me out of a ticket one time.
Oh,
Vince and
that's
Brian.
right. That's
Yeah.
right.
They did. They were in my truck, and I was bringing them to church, and it was that downhill
San
slope on
Dimas.
Gladstone.
Yes.
So like on Gladstone, right around where San Dimas was. And just I'm 20 something, right? You just pick up way too much speed. Even thinking about it. So I'm just cruising down the hill, and it's like, I'm going to church, taking these two boys to church with me. So like Vince is in the front seat with me, Brian's in the back, and this is my old little red pickup, which is like it's like not an extra cab. And Brian's
No.
like stuffed in the back of it. And so the cop pulls me over, and he's like, yeah, you're going too fast down that hill. And where are you guys going? And then he sees like me and Vince, right? And then Brian like sticks his head out from the back seat. He's looking all cute. He's got like a Santa hat on. And it's like, we're going to church. And the cop's like, all right, just slow down. Like, lets me go. I'm like, way to go, Brian.
Yeah. I remember that. I remember that story. That was
Oh
great.
yeah.
Oh, so many good times. I could talk Gator stuff forever. People are probably getting tired of hearing it, but we touched on a lot today. Just another thing I learned from officiating. You were into that at Care, and kind of gave me some motivation to do a lot of that later on in my life. And I learned from you and others about just again looking sharp, looking the part. You're gonna make mistakes out there, but try to look like you know what you're doing, the right pants tucked in, all that stuff. You had a brief moment in time. You had some like referee gear. You were promoting. You had the KYL hats and the
Oh
officiating
yeah.
logo. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
So yeah,
If you're wearing a patch, that says something like official referee, or if then
yeah,
that, like, most parents will go, oh, okay, that person knows what they're doing. Just because you got the patch on, just wear the patch,
exactly.
just make up your own patch, this
Yeah,
doesn't matter. Just
exactly.
like,
See
just
this?
look the part, and people
Hmm.
will. And then when you make your calls, make them like you 100% know what you're doing. Don't question your call, just
That's right.
absolutely sell it. And most people are like, oh, okay, must know
I
what he's
believe
doing.
you. I believe you. Yeah. Be wrong strong, as
Yeah, there
as,
you go.
as we were taught a
That's
little bit
it.
in the officiating world. Mr. Heaton, this has been a blast. I really appreciate it. I could talk another 90
Oh,
minutes with
but
you about
wait. You
everything.
never responded and
Oh, what
gave me
was
an answer on that call. See,
oh
I just finished the care season, right?
Sure.
Umpiring
Me
baseball,
too.
softball, right? And then
Hmm.
there was I think it was a softball game. Can't remember baseball or softball, but um, so there's a kid on third base, right? And the pitcher walks walks the batter, right?
Oh.
So but see, ball four is a live ball, right? Because
Hmm.
the kid on third can score. Or sometimes a really astute kid, will just take off running and go all the way to second base, right? And then create a throw, and then the kid can go home from third.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
but what happened was the batter starts kind of walking to first base, right? The catcher grabs the ball, throws the ball back to the pitcher, which the pitcher misses. It like hits the pitcher's glove, bounces off the pitcher, off their glove, rolls over to the first base line, where the kid walking to first base then picks up the ball and throws it back to the pitcher because they're being so helpful. So now, what do
Lovely.
you call?
Lovely.
It's
There's a
got to be a
spirit.
dead ball, right? But is that
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
the batter runner out?
There's a spirit of the law and
Technically,
a letter of the law.
sure.
Sometimes you got to do the right thing and make things right. What's the phrase? We always quoted it. 901 rule 901C. There it says in the umpires, if there's nothing specifically covered in this rule book, the umpire will use his best judgment to make
Yeah,
to
there it
make
is.
to do the right thing. So
That was a
um
classic no call. That was a no call. Yeah.
I think it's beautiful. Yeah, it's hey, no blood, no ambulance. We're good. We're good. Let's play on. We're not throwing anyone off of roofs or anything like that. We're just picking up a baseball.
Some
So
things just always going to come. I could be on my deathbed and I'm going to hear about Joey Parks getting thrown off the roof. Great, great
so
grandpa, is it true that you like? Oh yeah.
yeah, so do your chores. For sure. Oh, this has been so much fun. I got to ask kind of in closing here, the Rio Hondo Prep football, what it means to you and why you feel it's special. I try to promote that as much as we can here. I try to get that answer from people who've gone through it. You played it. You've watched it now for many, many years. I know you watch it closely. You photograph it now. If you could, Mr. Heaton, in closing, Rio Hondo Prep football, the brand, a charge to keep. What it all means to you. Why is Rio Hondo Prep football special and continues to be that way all these years?
Well, I could probably go down a number of things as to why it's special and so significant, and football in general, but more specifically, Rio Hondo Prep cares football. But I think that one of the most important things about the connection that Rio Hondo Prep has made with football, and thereby making a connection between the boys that play it and the school, are always the coaches, the leaders, the ones that are in charge of the team. Um, I don't. I could guarantee that there isn't a single coach that has ever coached Rio Honda Prep football that would say that the most important thing is winning.
Hmm.
Not a single one of them. And I can say that with absolute certainty, that there's not a single one of those coaches who would say, the most important thing for these boys' lives is that they win a championship, that they win games. That's not. And I think there's a lot of coaches that would say that, of course, but they play like it. They coach like it. That winning's the most important thing. The way they, you know, yell at their players and the way they treat their players, that, my approval of you is based on whether we win or lose. And it comes across from so many coaches and so many teams and organizations that I think so many young men are really hurt by it, and it irrevocably changes how a young man approaches life when they've been taught for 4 years or more that winning is the most important thing, and winning is how to gain the respect of your peers, or gain the respect of adults, or get people to like you, or to prove yourself. That it's all about winning. And that, I think, is one of the most important aspects of Rio Hondo Prep football, that it's not about the winning. Winning is a result, of course, by the way we do things, which is all about the relationship that the coaches and leaders develop with the players. I have a relationship with my wife and my kids that I think they understand that I love them. And I think they understand that I would do anything to protect them. I would lay my life down for them. They know that. It's not even a question. And if you're playing for, if you're, a football player and you're playing for a coach that you have that relationship with them, that that the coach loves you, that the coach cares for you, and the coach would lay his life down for you as the player, there's nothing that would hold back a young man from giving 110% for that coach, right? I mean, there's just nothing. And that relationship that is built between a Rio Hondo Prep coach and a Rio Hondo Prep player, in all the sports, but we're talking about football especially. That relationship that is built is the precedent, the foundation for any and all relationships that young man can develop for his whole life. Ultimately, the relationship that he develops with Christ. That is the most important relationship. And that is the relationship that the coaches are trying to epitomize when they are working with the boys on that football team. I think that's why we win games, because of that relationship. It's an inevitable outcome of that kind of connection that those boys have with their coaches. It's the same thing we've just been talking about the whole time. The connection of the coach with the young boys on, in the Gators, right? All those kind of connections lay a foundation to make a young man's life extraordinary. That's what happens. And winning happens along the way, which is just, a nice outcome, but not at all what's most important.
Very well said. With that being said, I am now excited for kickoff even more there in August, ready to get this thing going. Mr. Heaton, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for the memories, for the lessons, for all the kind acts, the rides to church, and all those fun things, making my experience as a young man just so much fun. And for the life lessons, the preaching of the word to us as well. Just all those things really have been a huge impact on my life. So thank you. You got anything you want to promote, a YouTube page or an Etsy, anything that where your artwork, you selling any of that stuff? What's going on? You got anything to promote?
Not yet. I'm planning on working on my Etsy page over the summer, my Etsy store, making little sculptures, kind of along the lines of some like Star Wars type stuff. Hopefully not get sued by Disney in the process, but yeah, working on that. Always working on some kind of new creative fun thing. But yeah, nothing to promote. Sorry.
Okay. No worries.
I don't have a commercial. Hey. No commercials for you.
Hey, just giving you the opportunity with that artistic mind of yours. I'm sure you can't sit still. You're always doing something, right?
Yeah.
Good stuff. Well, Mr. Heaton, we will see you in football season. Have a great summer. It has been a pleasure chatting with you, and enjoy some of this. What is this? JV league football stuff we got going on just to pass the time by. Hey,
yeah,
it's football.
All right. Yeah.
Talk to you soon.
Okay. Thanks, Matt.
Take
See you.
You got it. Well, that was a lot of fun. Charge to Keep fans. I hope you guys enjoyed that. You stuck with us. A little longer conversation, but with some of these guys, once we start talking, I can't wrap it up. It's just like I want to keep going. So longer show today, so I won't keep you too much longer. But again, thank you to Mr. Heaton for all the fond memories and lessons, and just for being somebody. When I think of people who've had an impact on my life, he's right up there, especially from my younger days and everything. So thank you to all the coaches I've interviewed. Not just coaches, they are leaders, as a Care Youth League prefers to kind of give that acknowledgement rather than just coaches. So to my former leaders, I can't thank you enough. So many people have had an impact on me over the years, and it's been fun talking to them, going down memory lane and learning about their RHP football experiences and why it's special, and also some fond memories of coaching me back in the day in those elementary school days when I was looking up to the Rio athletes and hoping to do it someday. And then now I get to give back and do it, be around the program in a little different way. So hope you guys enjoyed that. It was a lot of fun. Next week, we will have our 4th of July special that I know you guys will very much enjoy. A little different than what we've been talking about the past month or so, but a little patriotic episode similar to the BJ Jacobs episode I did last year, the former Navy SEAL who played football at Rio Hondo Prep. If you haven't seen that or heard that already, go back and check that out in the summer, right around July 4th, July 5th, somewhere in there. It really was an episode that is timeless. A lot of these summer episodes from last year and this year are timeless because we're not specifically talking about what's going on the field at the moment for the Rio Hondo Prep Care. So a lot of these are timeless episodes you can go back and rewatch. And I hope you guys do that, whether it's on YouTube, Rumble, or your various audio only platforms. Appreciate the support. Be sure to give us a follow if you haven't already. Charge to Keep on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Again, I mentioned YouTube and Rumble. Be sure to subscribe to those channels if you would feel inclined to do so, and appreciate the constant support out there. You guys will love the 4th of July episode next week. As a matter of fact, 4th of July, I think, is on Thursday. So I've been releasing these episodes Friday nights. But with that episode, with the 4th being a day early, rather than release it on Friday the 5th, I think I will release that one sometime in the middle of the day on July 4th, just because, who knows? If you're out there barbecuing or out watching fireworks, maybe you want to listen to some Charge to Keep podcasts. It'll be very patriotic. It'll be still Rio Hondo Prep football themed, but I think it's somebody you guys will enjoy listening to for sure. Somebody that will probably talk a long time, and you may even have to break that episode up into a few different parts. Hopefully everyone is enjoying the summer. Mr. Heaton and I just finished recording weeks prior to this episode being released, but I know the summer is going well for us, and we're getting one day closer each and every episode that is released to Rio Hondo Prep football kicking off August 24th at home against Francis Parker, a Saturday night, I believe that is. So plan accordingly. And we'll be back next week a little early on the 4th of July for the 4th of July episode, and more great episodes after that as we prepare to talk about the current team a little bit more and all those things going in. We'll have Coach Carson back on too to get a midsummer update. And then as we approach August, man, we'll have nothing but great content about the current team, players, coaches, opponents, all that great stuff here on the Charge to Keep podcast. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for sticking with me on a longer episode. It was a pleasure. Mr. Rod Heaton, thank you so much for everything. I can't say it enough. And guys, in closing, as a friendly reminder, as always, no matter what you're doing, always be humble in victory and gracious in defeat, because we always have a charge to keep.
A charge to keep I have, a God to glorify, a never-dying soul to save, and fit it for the sky. Arm me with jealous care, as in thy sight to live, and thy servant, Lord, prepare a strict account to give.